Anchor is anchoring.
I'm here, sir.
Yeah, yes, not Anushura. Yeah, Ms. Sharanya, please. You may do begin the session.
Okay. A warm good evening to one and all present here. It's me, Sharanya from Government in GSSS Chedimangalam, and I welcome all of you to the 89th episode of Language Acquisition Program. Before starting an event, we all want the blessings of God. For that, I would like to invite Anusri S. Naya from Government MGH, sorry, Government HSS Vinyaramode for the prayer. Anusri?
Thank you, Sharanya. Light of the world, you step down into darkness. Open my eyes, let me see beauty that made this heart adore you. Hope of my life spent with you. And here I am to worship. Here I am to bow down. Here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether worthy, altogether lovely, altogether wonderful to me. King of all days, oh so highly exalted, glorious in heaven above. Humbly you came to the earth you created, all for love's sake became poor. And here I am to worship, here I am to bow down, here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me.
Excuse me, may I intervene? Our RP has joined the meeting. Welcome, ma'am. Am I audible?
Anchor, please continue.
Thank you, Anusri. Now, my hearty welcome to Anushura from GHSS Paradanur for the welcome speech.
A warm evening to our respective chief guests, teachers, parents, and my dear friends. I'm Anaswara BS from GSSS Paradanu. I feel so proud and privileged to welcome you all to the 89th episode of Language Acquisition Program conducted by English Graduates Association. First of all, I welcome Kaur ma'am who inaugurates our session. She was working as a mistress at GSSS Ludhiana. She was a former IELTS introduction and working as a resource person for English. Welcome, ma'am. Then I welcome our today's RP, Kirandeep Kaur ma'am. She is an English teacher at Senior Secondary School, Sihora. Welcome, ma'am. After that, I welcome Niranjana Hari from Shantiniketan School, Trivandrum, who presents over the session. Welcome, Niranjana. Next, I welcome our today's anchor, Sharanya S. from Government GMLGHSS Chedimangalam. Welcome, Sharanya. Afterwards, I welcome Anusri S. Naya from GSSS Vinyaramode for Sun Prayer. Welcome, Anusri. I also welcome Vaiduria from GSSS for the vote of thanks. Welcome, Vaiduria. Once again, I welcome you all to this session. Hoping you all will enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anushura. Now, I would like to invite Niranjana Hari from Shantiniketan School, Trivandrum for the presidential address.
First of all, thank you, Anushura. So, good evening, all of you. Respected inaugurator who is not here yet. RP, participants, teachers, and of course our dearest performers. Sorry, I just mentioned. Anyway, so here we are at the 89th session of lab. Yes, it's a wonderful occasion, and it's my third time presiding over. So here on the 89th session, we have one of the most relevant topics of the contemporary society, the power of reading. I'm not here to deliver a very long speech on how reading is not that popular nowadays. Excuse me. There's noise coming from. Moving on, and I would like to say something about power of reading. When I was 10, and I started to take reading very seriously. Then my dad, who is a teacher, used to teach us that be careful of what you read. And now, 5 years after that, I realized this meaning because words can always cut sharper than any sword, be it a katana or anything. Of course, I would like to congratulate all the performers here. First of all, Miss Sharanya from GSSS Chadamangalam, who's anchoring the session. Ms. Anusri Nair from GSSS Banyaramud, who delivered such a lofty prayer at the start of the session. Ms. Anashwara from GSSS Baradanur, who delivered the welcome address. Also to Ms. Vaiduria from GSSS Puyapalli, who is about to deliver the vote of gratitude towards the end of the session. So, of course, our respected inaugurator, and to Ms. Dearest RP, Ms. Avanti Kaur, who is I actually googled about her, and she's such a wonderful resource person. I think she's the best one we can get on the power of reading. Such a wonderful topic. I'm a bibliophile, and this is it's one of the sessions I'm going to enjoy too much, and I'm not going to extend it. Before I conclude, I would like to say something. Reading is one of the best qualities or habits one can ever have. And I'm proud and I'm proud about that, and I have this habit. And we'll be talking about this on the session by Ms. Kaur. I think we are going to do amazing on the session. Last but not least, I would like to say that, I hope to say that all of you will enjoy this session from the bottom of your heart, and this will contribute something to your future. Thank you, and have a wonderful session ahead.
Thank you, Niranjana. And now we are going to inauguration of today's session. Amandeep Kaur ma'am, who is working as English Mistress at GSSS Ludhiana, former IELTS instructor, worked as resource person for English. I welcome you, ma'am, with a lot of respect.
See, the inaugurator has not come up. She is engaged. Otherwise, I think she will turn up in between any time. Let's go directly to the session. Anchor,
Yes,
you can call the RP.
Okay, sir. Now it's time for today's talk. For that, I would like to invite Kirandeep, who is an English teacher at Government Senior Secondary School, Sihora. She aspired to create an impact that goes way beyond the classroom and make her students' life better on all fronts. She has also participated in cultural exchange program under the initiative of Delhi and Punjab government. I welcome you, ma'am, to leading the class.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to thank Sir for giving me this beautiful opportunity, and Niranjana Hari ma'am and all the teachers present here. Thank you so much for having me. Good evening to all the dignitaries present from all over India. It is such an honor to meet and greet you all. First of all, I'd like to know if you am I visible and audible to all of you?
Absolutely,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am. Very much.
that's nice to hear. So I'd like to thank sir for gifting me this opportunity, an opportunity to meet new people, to teach and learn and explore new things and ideas. So thank you so much once again for having me. So let's just straight jump to the topic. The topic, as we all know, is the power of reading. So let me ask you something, all of you. This is a question for all of you. What if I tell you that there is one thing you could do which you would make you more imaginative, smarter, your memory sharper, improve your mental well-being and your personal relationships, and will make you a better human being overall? You would be very skeptical. Like, what do you think could do that? That could make your life better and change your life on the whole. Well, you all would have guessed by now that what I'm talking about reading, right? And it is something that all of you and all of us can do. Am I right? You can all read, right?
Yes, ma'am. We
Yes.
can.
Absolutely. Okay, so how many of you are bibliophiles? Can I know how many of you love to read books, and which is your favorite book, and which book didn't you didn't like and all that?
Yeah, sure. Can I go first? You don't
Yeah,
mind.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm a bibliophile, and I started reading at seriously. I started reading at 7 also because I was in sixth
Okay.
child. You know the stereotypical. I had a lot of medication, so I was confined at home, and books were the only thing I could do. So
All right.
so I one of the most influential books I read is it's quite a few number of them are there, but I'm just going to name the two. One
All right.
among this it is Discovery of India by Pandit Nehru,
Yeah.
and the other one is, as you know, I'm a history buff, so a lot of history
Okay.
stuff. Another one is the Ivory Throne by Manu Pillai. He's a young historian, of course. And the book I didn't quite like is it ends with us by Colleen Hoover. Please don't
Oh
cancel
my
me,
God.
but I seriously don't like that New York City.
Just, okay, just hold that
It
thought.
annoys me to the extent. Just annoys
Just
me the
hold that.
romanticizing of negative things.
Niranjana ma'am, you won't believe the coincidence. Only yesterday, I went to a bookstore and look what book I bought.
I'm sorry. Did I offend you? No.
So maybe I should just return it already.
Kirandeep, ma'am. Niranjana is a
Yes.
child. Niranjana is a student.
Okay. But she
Just
speaks so
don't
well that I just thought she's a teacher. So it's a compliment, I guess.
Never. I'm just a student. I'm a high schooler.
All right. That's so brilliant. Your accent, your English is spot on. So congratulations for that.
Oh, thank you. Because of reading and watching English stuff.
Wow, I'm reading this book now. I'm just a bit skeptical. Should I waste my time on it or not? I just bought it. I haven't even started reading it.
Please, ma'am, it's your opinion. I was
Okay,
reading
yeah.
a pretty feminist gender, so that's why I said.
All right,
Sorry.
all right. May I know in which class do you read?
Which pardon?
Which class? Which class do you read?
I'm in which class I'm studying in?
Yeah.
I'm in 9th. I'm in 9th now. I started
Okay.
reading when I was in 3rd or so. Just the
Okay.
fairy tales to bird classes.
Okay.
Just read anything.
Okay.
Pretty much anything. I just read it.
All right. Yeah, that's
Excuse
great.
me, ma'am.
So, yeah, sure.
You have the same book here. See? The same.
Oh, that is same pinch.
Yes.
That is so great. So, have you
I
read
have
it?
just started reading this right now.
Wow. Okay.
So as the title tells, I regret buying it. I
All right.
wasted my money. Actually, I wouldn't
Okay.
go and have a refund.
Okay, Anushree, maybe we will stay in touch and exchange our views on this book.
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Yeah. All right. Sure. Okay. So, shall I continue? So, yeah. So, as you all have guessed, that I'm talking about the power of reading, but I'm not talking about the sort of reading that which we have to do nowadays just to get through life. I'm talking rather about the reading of fiction, of story books that all we all just love and grew up on. Because like narratives, the sort of reading which puts you in other person's shoes, heads, and helps you see things from their perspective. Like it makes you a better person, it makes you live another person's life. That's the reading which is best thought pleasurable and quite worst, like worst scenario, it's often thought of as a waste of time. So I myself have passion for teaching and reading. So I'm quite lucky to have this combination. So what I do, I make the best use of my teaching by teaching my students to be teaching my students to be avid learners and readers, to become comfortable with books, not to be daunted. Books shouldn't be daunting at all. Like, what's there to be daunted about books? Books should be funny, they should be exciting, and they should be wonderful. So, you all must have heard about Mark Twain, right? Have you heard about him?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so what have you heard about Mark Twain? Which work of his have you read or heard of?
He's one of the most wonderful writers I ever read. I think I read quite a few, which I don't remember now. Sorry.
Okay, but you all must be familiar with the adventures of Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn. How much Tom was
That's one
afraid
I
of
read. That's one I read. I
Yes,
had the name
yes.
Finn in my mind, and I was wondering which Finn. The shark fin.
Yeah, okay. All right. So Mark Twain, is considered to be the founding father of American literature, and his quote, his a particular quote is something that always hits me hard and which prompted me to read. And that quote goes like, "A man who does not read has no advantage over a man who cannot read." Like, it is so simple and so hard hitting. And how true is that? Like, what's the difference between you, a so-called educated person who has been through schooling, who has been to the universities, colleges, and even a PhD holder, but you still don't read books? Like, what's the difference? If there is a person, you are a PhD holder, for example, and there's a person who can't even read a single letter. But both of you don't read books, so both of you are at the same level. Isn't that right? Do you agree? Yeah. So the next question that arises is like, what is the purpose of reading? Why should we do it at all? Every person has their own purpose of reading. For someone like me, I love to learn, like to be for delight, Charlie Chaplin said that a day without laughter is a day wasted. So for my idea of happiness, like David Bowie, the legendary English musician, said that his idea of happiness was reading. Like, what's the perfect happiness, defined perfect idea of happiness? He said reading, and that is also the case for me, and I know for millions around the world. So one purpose is for the gaining the delight. Next, some like to just ornament their life, like some like to ornament their life by actually reading the books, or some just like to ornament their houses by just buying the books and decorating them and never touching them. They are just gathering dust there. So that is no purpose at all. That is just show off. And then there are some who are studying to earn a living. There's just reading, like I have to read and become something on later on in the life. But that's not the kind of reading. They're just studying. Okay, so you must have heard about Francis Bacon. Have you heard about him? Another legendary, prolific English philosopher. Has anyone heard about him? Francis Bacon? Okay, so you are gonna be introduced to a new, arena, a new person, and he is a very, very considered to be a very important figure in English literature. And his quotation is like this: "Reading maketh a full man." Like, without reading, you are not a complete human being. A man here doesn't stand for just particular one gender. We're talking about human beings. Okay. So, and there is one particular essay that I think you all must read if you want to develop this love for reading, if you want to become avid readers. And please note down that essay, audible to all of you. I'm not talking alone. So please just feel free to interfere, interrupt me, or anything, I'd be more than happy. It's just a normal conversation happening between book lovers. All right. So let's make it a lively conversation rather than just a one-sided lecture. Okay. So you are just all free to ask me anything or tell me or correct me. We all make mistakes. So don't worry at all. Be relaxed. All right. Got me?
Yes, ma'am.
Free to ask me anything or tell me or correct me. We all make mistakes. So don't worry at all. Be relaxed. All right? Got me? Being, right? The more you free to ask me anything or tell me or correct me, read, we really have no choice but to develop literacy. You must have found that a person who read, he rarely makes a grammatical mistake, or he has any serious problem with grammar or command over the language. They write acceptably well. They have also good spelling sense, though not necessarily perfect spellers. I myself have a blind spot for spellings. I am a teacher, but I never tell that to my students, but I'm sharing this with you that I have a blind spot for spelling. So I always double check before spelling. But they write acceptably well, the people who read, right? Why do they write so well? Because they can't help it. They have subconsciously, absorbed a good vocabulary, a good syntax structure. They have, acquired subconsciously a good writing style overall. So now let's get to introduce you to the 4 types of reading. I guess you must have heard about like the types of the reading. Have you heard about all these types of the readings? Does anyone know how many types of readings are there?
I'm like reference.
No.
No. Like,
Okay, so let me now share the. Can I share my screen, sir? Am I allowed to do that?
Yes, miss.
Okay, sir. Just a second. All right. So on your screen, can you all see the screen?
yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so there are types of reading. So let me tell you something, that there are in total 4 types of main readings. Okay, so the first part is skimming. So skimming in short can also be called gist, or as you can see that I have spelled gist in 2 ways. One is with G and another is J. So if you are an American English lover, you can go with, if you're an American English lover, you can go with J. And if you're an old school like me, you can go with G. Both are internationally accepted. So what is skimming and how can you do it? Well, it is a process that would help you get the basic idea of what the text is about. For example, sometimes we don't have time to read an entire book or an entire column or an entire essay. We are in a hurry, but we want to know what the thing is about, what the essay is about. So it's a strategic and selective method in which you focus on the main idea of a text. So basically, what is skimming? Can you see the second line? It is the process of extracting the essence of author's core message rather than going into minute details. It's like reading a summary of a novel or a essay, right? So with the help of skimming, you will be able to cover a vast amount of material more quickly. Let me tell you in simple words, what does it do? For example, you haven't read throughout the year properly the entire syllabus, but you are like now swatting over the books a night before the exam. Don't you all do that? Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. You are just reading the main points.
I feel attacked on a very
I
personal
often
level.
do it.
Excuse me?
I feel attacked on a very personal level. That's what I do.
Don't worry, we all have been through that. These are the stages that we all go through. So don't worry about it all.
I'm not I find it funny myself, and I sit and think after all these exams, what was I doing? I could have done better if I just go through all the text.
Yeah, we all have regrets. Wish I had heard the teacher properly when the teacher was teaching, but I was, busy doing something else, all the naughty things and all that. We all have been through that. Don't worry. So I was saying that the kind of reading or studying that you do a night before, Like you're just reading the summaries, you're getting the basic idea, you're getting the titles and the subtitles. So that is actually skimming. You got it?
Got it, ma'am.
Yeah. So, okay. So now the next question is how to do skimming. Like how to do it. What's the process? First of all, it's quite easy. You have to, like, there is a, big question. Like it expands to 4 or 5 pages. First of all, just read the very few beginning lines, like 3 to 4. Then you have to read like the titles and the subtitles, and there will be bold words, or if there are charts or graphs or pictures, memorize them. And then you just read the summary, and then there is a ending. You have to just read 2 or 3 lines of that, and you will get the idea of it. Got it? So that is skimming. Now there are also 3 types of skimming. The first one is preview. Preview is quite simple. What you have to do is you just skim in a very short form, like you go just run your eyes all over the text. Then there is over skimming. Now you don't need slide anymore. Should I come back? Because it's like I'm sitting alone here.
Yes.
Can I come back?
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, just wait. Yeah, so nice to come back. Okay, so you can see me simultaneously and the presentation or not?
Yes, miss.
Yes, sure.
You can see both things?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Oh,
Yeah, ma'am.
all right. So I just talked about there is 3 types of skimming, and the first one is preview, and it is often followed by second skimming or a thorough reading, like a little bit more thorough. We won't go into much details over it. So the second type of skimming, that is over skimming. So what you do is that you read more thoroughly, more minutely than you do in preview. Okay, so in preview you read the first paragraph, then you read the headings, and then you read the first sentence of the paragraph or sections. Okay, but at the same time you also alert yourself to the structure and content of the material, like you go into bit deeper detail than you go in the preview. All right, so the last is review skimming. As the title suggests, review, like revise. So what do you do in revise? You just familiarize yourself with the material that you have gone through in skimming, in preview, and in over skimming. So you just revise all the material that you have read in the skimming. So is that clear? Any questions do I have regarding the skimming?
Ma'am, does abstract
no.
reading come?
Yeah, there
Can I?
is.
Yeah, sure. So does abstract reading
Yeah.
come under the category of skimming? Because I ask this because, like, I have to read a lot of research papers for my own work. I write non-fiction and columns,
Okay.
for some extent. So when I read the abstract, sometimes I don't get the whole idea. It's just my limitations, or I don't know. Just that skimming over it gives me some limitation. Does abstract reading come under the category of skimming? That's my question.
Does the abstract reading?
Yeah, we are reading abstract of a research paper. Does it come under the category of skimming? Or
Actually, your voice is breaking up. Your voice is breaking up. I can't hear you properly. Does the abstract reading come under what? I can't hear you after that.
come under skimming?
You come under the skimming.
Come
Yeah,
under
it's
the category of skimming.
Yeah, it's kind of, but abstract reading is like a bit more complicated. You know, you have to read between the lines. Sometimes it's a famous thing said about English teachers, that English teachers put more thought into the text than the original author did. So that is abstract reading. You have to get behind you have to go beyond the words. You have to understand the feeling. That is the abstract reading. So yeah, it's kind of, but it's like a bit going into finer details. All right. So next we have the second and main type of reading is scanning. So we all know scanning. We have seen that it's in computer, we scan our computer. What do we scan our computer for? For viruses, right? Sometimes you scan, like in computer we have text and we search the word, like find this word, and computer does what? It scans it for a particular word that you asked it to search for. So that is particularly scanning is about. So scanning is reading the text quickly in order to find specific piece of information or a date or a figure or a name, right? It's quite in contrast with skimming. Skimming is, as I have told you, that it's like just getting the journal idea, like getting what it is all about. But scanning is just finding like little finer details, but you don't have to read it all. You just look all over it with your running eyes. So have you all been, you must have seen that your English question paper often begins with an unseen comprehension. You all know about that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, right? It's one of the most exciting, easiest to score points, right? So you often, the teacher puts an unseen passage over there. What do you do? That first of all, you read the passage very carefully. So that is another type of reading which I'll talk about after this. But once you have read that passage, what happens as soon as a question comes? For example, the passage was about the independence of India, right? So there is a passage that the British came and they established East India Company, then they took over all over the country, and then there was a revolt of 1857 by Mangal Pandey. So the first question is, when did the first revolt occur in India of independence? So you won't go through the passage all over again, will you? You will just go like, where is the word revolt? I just read the word revolt somewhere in the passage, didn't you? And you would just go through that line. So you are scanning the text for the word revolt, right? For example, it asks you about like when was there is a passage about Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and there is his birth date and everything is told about him, and the question is, when was Nehru born? What would you do? You would just go to the date, like here was the date, here I just read it. So that is the example of scanning. You are scanning the text for a particular piece of information. Is that clear?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So what else do you do scanning for? Okay, how do you guys often scan for anything?
Yep, especially when the teacher just asks us something like the date of this thing or that thing or who wrote this book or something like that. You're like immediately into scanning mode, like scanning
Okay.
entire paragraphs in mere
All
seconds.
right.
And also
Okay. Nice. Nice to hear, Deepak.
unseen passage during exams. The get
Mhm.
one passage, first section of every English, every language exam, pretty much. And the first thing I just go, I don't even read the passage, and I just go first. I will go through the questions. I have to write.
Okay.
And then I'll just ask yourself, go scan. Oh, I saw the date. It's the date, so I'll write it down.
Yeah.
Pretty much I
Absolutely. And we don't even do scanning just for the books or the text. We do scanning for humans also. Okay, first of all, you just entered the school, and who do you scan for? Either for your best friend. Okay, where is my bestie?
my
Has she
best
come?
friend in my school. So I will just like,
Or
is the PT teacher coming? Yeah, it's me.
absolutely, you won't believe it, Niranjana. I used to
Seriously,
scan
don't
for
know
maths
this
teacher.
bullshit at this. Yeah, I'll
I
just
used to
first,
scan for my
the
maths
first,
teacher, and I would just wish that he wouldn't come.
yeah.
Okay, so which teacher do you wish that he would be absent, he or she would be absent every day?
My max, perhaps. I don't like max.
Oh, absolutely.
We
That's the
share our
same
brains around
page.
that.
Okay, so can anyone else? Can I get what Shamira wants to say something? Hi, Shamira. Nice to meet you. I think Shamira is having some network problem. Is there anyone else who wants to say something, add something? Like, what do you scan for? Okay, there is also a name Fatima. Hi, Fatima. Would you like to say something? And And then there is, I think Fatima is also having some problem. There is a student whose name is Jasveer.
Hi, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Jasveer. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. Nice to meet with you.
Same here. May I know where are you from, Jasveer?
Ma'am, I'm from Fagwara city.
Oh, that's nice. Another, okay. That I have got some company from Punjab. Okay, so that was just Veer, and she is from Punjab also. Okay, so I don't mean to digress, but have any of you been to Punjab ever?
No, ma'am.
No? Would you like to?
Casted-
Would you like to?
Yes,
I've
of
actually
course.
been in Punjab for just
Yes, of course.
I
Okay, are you all from Kerala?
most of
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Malayali.
This
Yes,
is
yes.
All right. That is so
I was on
beautiful.
a road trip years
Okay.
back,
Okay.
and we stopped at Punjab, Daba, in Daba, I guess. I don't remember, and it was one of the best things I ever had.
Hi, ma'am.
Aloo ki
It was-
paratha. As we
Okay. You didn't like the aloo ka prantha?
I absolutely loved it, but now due to my gluten allergy, I can't
Oh.
have any.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
unlucky.
okay,
I
okay.
can't have any of my favorite foods anymore due to my this damn allergy. It's just like okay, I'll just
Okay.
stick to veggies and fruits.
Don't worry. Aloo ka prantha, they are not healthy anyway. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise. So don't
Sorry,
worry.
I'm not offending you, but it's so
Yeah, it's oily.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so shall I
Did you
move
come
on
to Kerala?
I really
Where are you
want to. I want to. I am from Punjab, Ludhiana.
Now, if
You
you're
know.
being in, if you're
Ma'am, come to
being here,
Kerala.
please do attend the Kerala Literature Festival.
Yeah,
It's one of the
Kerala,
best
Kerala.
things Kerala can
Okay,
ever.
I really would love to
The
come to
world's
Kerala. I have
biggest
heard so much about
fish
Kerala
ever.
and its people. They're just so nice, and I would love to see it all and meet you all in person maybe one day.
Yeah. Ma'am, I have one suggestion. If you, as I said, you are a very avid reader. So if you're ever
Okay.
being in Kerala, please do attend the Kerala Literature Festival. And it's
Yeah,
one of
it's
the
going
best.
on right now,
Yeah,
right?
it's going
It's
to
going
end
on.
tomorrow
I
or
saw
today.
Sir's status. I saw Sir's WhatsApp status, and he had put some pics over there.
Yeah,
All
I guess
right.
it was there. I didn't see his status. No.
All right, so let's move on to the third type of reading, and I'm gonna share my screen here now. So, the third type of reading, you can see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. We can see.
Okay.
And now I can see your
Yeah, no, just wait.
screen.
Yeah. Yeah, so here's the third point, intensive or deep reading. As the name is quite clear, deep reading. Now we have come to the intensive and deep reading part. So now intensive reading is what we all do, and you all are doing as students, with specific learning aims and tasks. You are not reading for pleasure. You are reading it as a task, as a tedious task that has been forced upon you. You have to read thoroughly because there is going to be a test tomorrow, and if there is no test, the teacher might punish you or the parents might punish you separately, and there you will feel humiliated and all that. So that's why you have to read, right? You have to read everything so carefully that you have to rot it. You have to just copy and paste it, right? You have to go into minute and finer details. So that is what we call is intensive and deep reading. Like that, something which we do for a specific purpose, something which we have to do it. So, for example, what is intensive reading? Like, for example, take the events which led to the freedom of India. So, when did we get freedom? When did India get freedom?
1937.
1947.
Yes, 15th August. Well done. So you are alive and kicking. That's nice to hear. Yes, we got freedom on August 15th, 1947. But the process started 100 years before, right? So in order to understand that how we got freedom, first of all we would have to go that like how we got enslaved first.
Yeah.
So we'd have to go to the
Yes.
17th
All the
century
way back to
when the
1600s.
yeah, so when the
Yeah.
British arrived in India, they established East India Company. Then there was revolt of 1857 by Mangal Pandey. Then there is Rani Jhansi. Then there is Jallianwala Bagh tragedy, and so on. Right. So because the paper questions might come out of nowhere, it may ask you anything. You have to do intensive reading because all these events are interrelated. You can't skip anything, right? So that is what we call intensive reading. So there is another example on the screen of intensive reading, insurance claim. Like if you want to understand this complex process, like it's the language of bank, and the insurance claim is full of jargon that is understood not by common people. So if you want to get like what's the insurance program is about, what it's the policy is about, then you have to read carefully, right? And if there is a contract, like it's a property papers or it's something from the court or anything, or it's constitution, if you want to become a lawyer, you would have to read the constitution really deeply. So what do we call that reading? Intensive reading. So now we have pros and cons. You understand the meaning of pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages, or merits or demerits. So pros, first of all, let's discuss the pros. What are the advantages? So intensive reading is, usually classroom based. So it happens only within the classroom under the guidance of teacher. So you cannot go wrong with intensive reading. Next is it helps you develop reading skills. Look, we cannot read books on our own since our birth. Like it's not something that is pre-installed in it. Like mobile phones come with pre-installed apps, but reading is not pre-installed in it. So it is something that has to be developed, has to be polished. So it helps you to develop reading skills when it's done under proper guidance. Next is the aim is to build more knowledge in language and not to depend on practicing the skill of reading. So though we are talking about reading, but the thing is this, that reading will happen only when we have some command over the language, right? So if we cannot understand words or the vocabulary or anything, then how can we read? Next is it is used when reading the article requires concentration or attention. As I was saying, that intensive reading is all about deep reading. It also strengthens your concentration, right? And then also spans your attention. Then there are demerits. Learners often are unable to read the text at their level in the class. The problem is that learners, the teacher says, read this. But the thing is this, that they cannot do this without their teacher. They always need the teacher. It's like almost like spoon feeding if done excessively. If you're always there to guide your students, they may never learn to be independent. Next, the text mostly are chosen by the teacher. Therefore, the text may not be interest to the reader. That is something. So as I was saying, the text is always chosen by the teacher. For example, many of you, like, you don't like this book. It ends with us, right? But I liked it. So I will just ask my class, I will force them that you have to read this book. Tomorrow I'm going to be asking questions out of it. So what happens? That some may not like it, but they have to read it. So that is the cons of the reading. So you got it?
Got that, man.
Yeah,
Got it.
absolutely.
All right. So next up we have now we have come to our main point, the topic which it's all about, that is extensive reading. My bad there. So extensive reading is what I want to talk about, what I love. Extensive reading is an approach to second language reading, right? So it's mainly about learning the second language, and it is the best way to learn that language. When learners read extensively, They read very easy and enjoyable books to build their reading speed and fluency. The first and the core step to building extensive reading is that not picking up some classics. Like you cannot expect like that you carry War and Peace with you, and you expect it to understand at the first go. No, it cannot happen overnight. You have to take baby steps. You have to start with small or short stories. You have to start with comic books. You have to start with columns or anything like that. So what happens is that this reading for pleasure, it builds your speed and fluency. In fact, I'd say that students who read through are much more capable than who just read intensive reading or examine texts, and they are much more at grammar, phrases, and vocabulary. So, the main purpose, the core of the reading is pleasure. And if you're not happy learning something, and if you're happy learning something, you learn something faster, and then you become more confident. Now, why this pleasure, this happiness is core to the reading? Why do you think? Okay, why happiness is not just core to the reading? In a journal or in a wider aspect, it's also core to the lives, right? It cores to the life. If you're not happy in our life, then what's the purpose of life, right? Are you there? Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I hope I'm not boring you or you're not putting you to sleep.
Ma'am, honestly, I'm telling you, it's one of the best sessions I ever had with this program, with lab. I'm telling you, it's
Okay.
true.
Okay, thank you so much. And what do others think? Okay, tell me and give me a suggestion that how can I improve or better it?
Man, I honestly don't think that there is much to improve about your style of taking class because it is really just wonderful.
Oh, really? Thank you so much, Deepak. That's really kind of
agree
you.
with Deepak for that. Ma'am, you know the pulse of readers. That's
Yeah.
one of the attractive things. That's one of the things I found attractive in your way of communicating with us.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. That actually encourages me to continue and maybe come back. So,
We have enjoyed
yeah.
it.
Yeah, so we were talking about happiness being core of not only reading but of our life also. But why happiness is the essence of even life? Simple. That answer is simple, that if we are not happy doing something, if we are not enjoying doing something, we won't do it properly. If we are not happy in our daily life, we are not living life, we are simply breathing. We are like, yeah, okay, one more day has passed, soon I will die, then it will be all over. No, that's not what it is all about. So that's also about the reading. If you're just reading book out of pleasure, like not at all with pleasure, you're just like, you're not giving a damn about what the author wants to say. You're just reading words and you're reading it for reading's sake only. That's not about it all. So what happens that if some things are forced on us, and forced things seldom bring out the best in us, so it's not at all the way to read. So what happens when we read with pleasure? When children read for pleasure, they get hooked to the books. The main idea is this, that you should be hooked to the books. You should be booked, if I should say. You should be booked with books. So what happens is that when we read for pleasure, we acquire subconsciously without deliberate effort. We don't have to okay, I have to write the sentence like this, I have to use this vocabulary. No. The thing is, the most beautiful and miraculous thing is this, that when you are done reading like 10 to 20 books initially, you are building your reading habit, you're progressing with it. When you start writing, the words will come out. You will automatically have acquired the writing style of the authors you have read. And that is the best feeling. You just use fancy words, your grammatical structures will improve drastically, and it's also beautiful. All right. So what happened? They will become adequate readers. Students, when they read extensively, they acquire a large library of vocabulary, words, sentence structure, and develop the understanding. Soon they will be able to use complex grammatical structures, develop good writing style, and become good as I had said, though not necessarily good spellers, perfect spellers, but good spellers. It won't be bad at all. So that was the extensive reading. Now let's move on to the power of reading in journal. I want to begin with a very beautiful thing said by someone anonymous or that I don't know about. We are all human beings. I'm not afraid to, admit my shortcomings. So the quotation that I had read the other day, that is, today's readers are tomorrow's authors. Right? So what is reading? Reading is like giving us the input. It is feeding our brain. Right? Don't we just, when we type to the computer, isn't that like giving it to the input? And then reading is like giving input to our brain. And when we start writing, that is the output. That is the result of the reading. So what happens, as Niranjana was saying that she had started reading at the age of 7. Many of us have started like around that or later, or even some have started reading earlier, right? So what happens, the children who start reading at an early age will develop acceptable levels of literacy. They have no choice at all. They don't get to choose it. They will have to do it because it happens subconsciously. So without reading habit, they simply don't have a chance. They simply don't have a chance to become better readers or even become better writers. So what happens? When a child reads for pleasure, she develops the competence to move from an ordinary conversationalist to a level where she or he can converse in a demanding business. Like in a second language, particularly we are talking about, like they can talk about easily about the study of literature or business or finance or anything. So when you read in second language, you can continue to the biggest con and the biggest show off and biggest ornament is that when you have learned to read, you can continue to improve without classes. You won't need teacher, you won't need to study, or you won't even need people to converse with. We all speak English, right? But do we need to be in England to speak English?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
No,
not.
never.
All. The most beautiful thing is this, that you know that you have excelled in this language when you even start thinking in English. Like I talk to myself all the time and I talk in English. And it is so beautiful. And sometimes when I am speaking to myself, my accent is so perfect. I sound like any of the Netflix series I'm watching. I subconsciously acquire their speaking style, their accent, and sometimes it's embarrassing. Sometimes it looks like you're trying to copy or ape them, but who cares? I'm talking to myself. It's my world. So you kind of build your own world. Okay, so you got that?
Yes, ma'am.
Got it, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Fatima. All right. So the next point that I'm going to talk about is that a well-read person is an attractive conversationalist. Obviously, a person who hasn't read anything, right? A person who is just living in his shell is an introvert, like refuses to speak to anyone. How can that person, start a conversation? And if the person will start a conversation, okay, he will be like, okay, hi, hello, how are you? All good? Okay.
What awkward.
Silent.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah, Niranjana? Hello? Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Niranjana, you kind of froze there. I think she is having network problem.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you now.
Sorry, I just accidentally switched off my Wi-Fi. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So I was talking about being introvert. It's actually really awkward
Yeah.
when we are in a more familiar circle. The people who know from the birth. It's like they
Okay,
get
so you are an extroverted introvert.
in between something. I'm a selective.
Yeah, that is what.
I select
Yeah.
which character I'm taking in front of people. I select.
Yeah, that is absolutely brilliant. That's what we all do. We have to protect ourselves from the people that are not giving us good vibes. Right.
I'm saying a joke, but if I have an annoying judging auntie, I will just say, okay, fine, yeah. I'm really awkward in front of her. If I have such a person like you, ma'am, who reads books, it's quite similar to me.
Yeah, okay. So, anyone else
That's
has
having
anything to say? Who else
I
is
feel
an
like I'm the
introvert?
biggest extrovert in the world.
Absolute right. You should see, I'm also an introvert, but you should see me with my group, and there is no wilder person that you might have seen on the entire earth.
I have to agree with that.
Yeah. Okay.
That
Anyone
you
else
should
wants
never see me
to
with
say?
my best friend or my mom because
Okay.
that's when my wildest sides comes out. And when
You come out
I
of your
quit
shell.
it,
You
my
break out of your
little
shell.
mind, yeah, I break out of them. Then I sit and think, no, I was such a mess. I was awkward. What will they think of me? They will think
But
I'm crazy.
just it's quite liberating. You're quite young now. Like you must be thinking, okay, what other one is thinking. But I have, just overgrew it. Nobody gives a damn about it, and
Yeah,
you don't also give a damn. Just live your life to the fullest. The thing
yeah.
is this that
I
when
used to
we
be quite
are,
moody. Yeah, I used
okay,
to be quite moody. I was about 10 or 12. Till 12, I was about moody. So moody, like I was so fat, and the people were like, "Oh, why is she eating so much food?" And I was like,
oh come on, you should eat them
"Me?"
too. Whoever
Yeah,
says you are eating too much, eat them.
yeah. I got an advice from my mom. I was really
Yeah.
surprised that she's about 40 plus. She's in her late
Okay.
40s. And I was really
Okay.
surprised. I was like, "What?" And I was like, she's like, never give a damn about what they are saying. Let it's their tongue and
Absolutely.
they're bitching about someone else.
Yeah,
Don't
so
give a
it's
damn.
your life. It's not like that they have to pay for your food. You are just doing it
Yeah,
to it, and let
my
us
parents
be.
are paying for it, and they doesn't have any problem with that. There doesn't have
Yeah,
any
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, anyone
yeah.
else wants to? Okay, who here is an introvert or an extrovert? Please let
Ma'am,
us know.
I'm an introvert.
Okay, I may pronounce your name. Please pronounce your name because I don't want.
Vaiduria.
Why do you?
Vaiduria.
Yeah,
Diamond.
Vaidu. Nice to meet you, darling. How are you?
Fine, ma'am.
Hello everyone.
Now, good evening, Gurpreet ma'am. How are you?
Nice ma'am. Thank you.
So, ma'am, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Extrovert ma'am. Purely.
Extrovert. Wow, that's so nice. So, are you also bibliophile? Do you love to read books?
Yes ma'am.
Okay, so, ma'am, please tell us about your favorite book and what did you like about it the most? Maybe we will just add to our wish list.
I most likely read Robin Sharma books, but nowadays,
Okay, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
yeah, life changing books.
Yeah,
I
okay.
I read almost all the books of Robin Sharma.
All
Nowadays,
right,
I'm
ma'am.
reading Rich Dad and Poor Dad.
Oh, that
I
is one of the most famous books ever. Like it's related to subconscious mind, like training our mind or something.
फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम हाँ जी मैम फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम में
Okay.
रिलेटेड आजकल चल रहा है
O-
मैम
Okay, okay, ma'am. That is so. Thank you so much for joining, ma'am. It's an honor that you have joined. I'm guessing you are also you teach in Fagwada school.
नो मैम आई एम इन लुधियाना गवर्नमेंट सीनियर सेकेंडरी स्मार्ट स्कूल कोढ़ानी कला
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you so much for joining and welcome. Please stay tuned. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Well, ma'am, I'm pretty introverted.
Are you are what?
I'm pretty introverted.
Oh, you're pretty introvert. Okay. So do you want to come out of your shell or are you just happy there?
Well, I want to come out of my shell, but it's just
Oh,
I'm too much into thinking.
don't worry. It's all right. Just take your time. Okay. Do you also like to read books?
Yeah, I'm a fan of reading.
Okay. But you're just an introvert around general public, not with your friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is perfect. You are actually protecting your energy and your vibes for the people who matter. So don't care about others.
Thank ma'am.
All right. So next point. So we were talking about that a well-read person is an attractive conversationalist. Obviously, we all here, I assume, are bibliophiles, and our mind is always popping, bubbling, bursting with ideas and topics, and we have lots of stories to share. We can cook up the stories at the spot. We just need is a listener who can just pay attention to us, who can actually bear with us, but because we have so many stories to tell and beans to spill, and this is only possible. We will only become attractive conversationalists only if we have read enough. If only we have read enough many stories, novels, then only we can talk about other cultures, other person's lives, their ideas, their wisdom, and whatnot. But the only thing that we need to do is pick up a book. And whoever says that they don't like reading, they just haven't found the perfect book, because there's a book for all. You just need to, tap into that energy. Finding a perfect book is like finding a soulmate. But as soulmates are difficult to find initially, so is a book. But once you find it, you'll just go with the flow. So what happens is that reading also helps you come out of your shell and expand your social circle. You will find people who also love books, and then your book library will grow bigger. So the next point that we have, does anyone have any question here? Anything that you want to add? All right, so if you have question, feel free to ask me. Then I'm gonna share something, my screen.
Good evening, Kiran ma'am.
Good evening, Diljit ma'am. So nice that you could join. Please do add something. Okay, first of all, let me tell you who is she. Diljit Kaur. She is a commerce lecturer in Punjab in one of the most prestigious girls' school, who is a government girls senior secondary school, Fagwada. And the school is very well reputed and prestigious, known for its hard-working staff and students. So I'd like to request Diljit ma'am to please add something.
Thanks, Kiran ma'am, for introducing me.
Sure.
Nice to meet you, ma'am.
Same here. So please tell us which book you read first and liked it or didn't like it. Because I take that you are not much of a reader. You just love to read about commerce.
Yes, ma'am, because I'm from commerce.
Yeah. So maybe you should read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because it's all about how to make money, financial.
Okay, sure, ma'am.
All right. So I hope you would read. And okay. So let's go back to our slide. It's taking a bit time. So can you see the screen?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can anyone help me out with this slide? It's not moving. How do I do that?
Ma'am, are you using a desktop or a laptop?
Yeah, I'm on laptop. I just want to go to the next slide. It's not moving.
It's not moving. You just can you just go to the what do we say there? There's below that pane, right?
Yeah, let me just start.
Yeah, maybe the net is stuck. That's why, or maybe it's perhaps a point with the mouse sensor.
All right. So,
sorry, my voice is no that quite good. The climate is not that good, and I'm just stuck with this. Haven't cold.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have come to how to develop this habit. Like we have talked about reading, like we should read books. It helps you with grammar, vocabulary, conversationalist, attractive, and whatnot. But how to develop this habit? Because we are not born with it. Like I have told you that the habit of reading is not pre-installed in it. So raise your hand if you have once tried to read a book. Like you just went to a bookstore or you borrowed a book from someone and you tried to read it and you just got yourself a perfect quilt or perfect environment to read it. You picked up the book, read a few sentences, or even one or two pages initially. But you put it down as soon as your phone dinged. There is a ding, your mobile screen, it lightened up. You pick up, then what happens? You pick your phone to look at the notification. There's a WhatsApp notification, there's a message on Messenger, or somebody has liked your comment on Facebook, or somebody has liked your photo on Instagram. So what happens that you just think that, oh, let me check what has happened on social media. But before you realize, an hour or even 2 hours have passed, and you have totally forgotten about the existence of the book. Has it happened with any of you?
Not quite, but I'm sometimes
Niranjana, you are a reader. Come on, we respect the books enough, right? We ignore the phone.
There was in a COVID period. I'd get quiet books. All the books I had was already read. I tried rereading, but it didn't work out. So I was like,
didn't work out.
okay, let me go through some social media, and I had it's quite some time of addiction to it, and now I'm out of it. I can't say it myself.
Okay.
Like, I'm out
Yeah,
of
absolutely. It's quite
But
addictive.
other things, it's literally when you are talking, I was going through my email. I'm sort of a columnist. I write for dailies in Kerala. So this editor was messaging me saying that I had a few mistakes, and I was like going through it. He marked it up, and I was going through. I was like, what? Then you were in between the session. This happened. That's one of the drawbacks that I have now. It's like when I'm reading, if I get such a thing, if someone wants to talk to me, it's an emergency, or like something like a privy or proofreading appears, I can't help it. But I just divert it to that task other than reading. Any solution
No
to
worry,
it?
don't worry. There is always room for improvement. The first solution, I will also be talking about that. The first solution is that switch off your phones. Stay away from the blue screen, right? So there is Abdul Haq. He has raised his hand. Yes, Abdul, nice to meet you. How are you doing?
Yeah,
Abdul
ma'am. Yes.
and Yassine Ahmed. So nice to meet you. Please ask your question. Abdul, can you hear me? Okay, Abdul is typing something. Yeah, you have raised your hand. What didn't you get, Abdul? What exactly didn't you understand? Abdul, if you could please speak, unmute yourself. Yeah, my question was like that, Abdul, that if you're not a reader, like, or if you were, when you were trying to read a book, has it ever happened to you that you tried to read a book, but you put it down because you preferred to check your social media over it? That was my question. Have you ever experienced this?
Yeah, ma'am. Sometimes.
Okay, then how did you overcome it?
Uh, I used to read selective books. Books that are interested more, like fairy tales.
All right. So what you're
Or
trying to say that is a
sometimes.
selection of book matters the most.
Yeah, ma'am. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Sure. Okay. Deepak Arun wants to say something. Deepak, well done, Abdul. Nice to hear from you. Please be with us.
I'm like there was not much of interference from social media, but there was that one from school. Let's say.
Okay.
Like I really like scientific books a bit more than the other books, like especially Cosmos by Carl Sagan.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
really
You must be fan of Stephen Hawking also.
yes, ma'am. I do have his book.
Okay.
brief.
Do you have a? I think that book, the title, I may get wrong. The Theory of Everything. I guess it's from
That,
Stephen Hawking.
that one. I guess it
Yeah.
is. I mean, like there are two books mainly that I know of. This one is also him.
Okay.
He always talks about the
Okay.
theory of everything, and finding that is going to be extremely hard, but it will be there over time. And he
Yeah,
also
absolutely.
talking about natural selection, artificial selection, and all. And I was very interested by it, and that's when you know,
Fascinating stuff. Some
that's
real
when,
mysterious stuff there.
yeah, I really started to get
Okay.
liking it, and that's when it struck me. Now, I've been taking leave from school because of this really weird flu that I got. It's not going away, so and now it's time to go back. Like school is asking me to come back because long times of taking a leave doesn't allow you to take leave like before the exam, like filling the quota and stuff. So I need to go
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, we all have, like came back to school the other day with groggy eyes, because I was just we were too busy reading books. Like one more chapter. Okay, this chapter has ended with such a interesting cliffhanger. One more chapter. Let's find out what happens next and next, and then we don't know when it's 12, when it's 2. It's such a beautiful feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, like you're really interested by it. You want to keep writing it. Like if I don't want to read, like if I don't want to do anything, pretty much that interesting, I just want to sleep. I have much free time with me. Like no one wants anything, and then I'm gonna go learn, or I'm gonna go and read, and then suddenly there's 1 million things coming at you from every single corner. Like, what is it? This?
Absolutely. It's like always the questions are always there, and your hunger for more knowledge and more questions is like peaked. It's like more increases day by day, right?
Right. And now
Yeah.
because of school, I really can't, learn like I used to. During the lockdown times, I was like all in on
So
science.
what are you suggesting? We should go into lockdown mode again?
No, I'm just saying that the school
Maybe
needs to
for
do.
readers, just for readers.
No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that school,
Yeah,
has
at school.
this
Got
done.
it, got it. Like there should be a lecture, maybe just only reserved for extensive reading, or read whatever you want to. But aren't there
Yes.
library periods? Do you guys have library periods in your schools?
Yes, ma'am. But sometimes the maths teacher comes there and
Oh,
they
hijack
always say they
everything.
have the
They
potions.
hijack
Sit down,
everything.
but you have the potions to finish. So they say
Yeah,
it like that.
these math teachers really don't know how to complete the syllabus.
Every PT and library, especially 9th and 10th, from 8 onwards, this thing
Yeah,
starts.
yeah, this happens. They hijack all the pleasure at lectures, especially your sports
Actually,
and game
I'm
lecture.
pretty sad for not getting the library period because PE is okay. I'm not that physically active due to my health conditions. But the library period is, pretty much I love it and I don't get it that much.
Okay, okay.
And
So,
I missed it from 7 because of the lockdown. Then I was in 8. When the school reopened, I'm in 9th, and keeps us pretty busy.
yeah, got it. Okay, so does anyone else wants to say anything? Move on. And as we were talking about, the distraction of the phone and how we just put a book down and we never come back to it really because we find it initially boring and it's difficult habit to kick off. So what happens? Well, okay, Mr. Viswan Civil, he wants to say something. He has raised his hand. Yes, sir. Please. Okay, you had raised your hand. I can't hear you. Please unmute yourself.
Can I intervene if you don't mind? Ma'am, sometimes the hand gets raised, the option gets clicked by mistake. If I think
Okay.
most people between if he wants to say something.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
it's
Thank you so
quite,
much for letting me know that. Thank you so much.
Every one of us, if they are raising their hand, you have to stop, and we are in that flow.
Okay. No,
Just
thank you
get
so
it.
much. I just want you guys to be comfortable, to get insights from you as much as I can. So, okay, but thank you so much for
We'll
letting me
just
know that.
unmute and then,
All
that's the
right.
thing
So,
all of us do.
All
Very
right.
much.
So the question is that how to develop this habit. Like we have so many distractions around these days, and it's a modern era. We have so many other means of entertainment. Then why to read books? So what you have to do in order to develop this steady reading habit, you must take baby steps. Right? Nothing beautiful happens overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. Right? So, what happens is that good things take their time, and now I'm going to guide you step by step, like how you can develop this habit of reading. So, the first step, as you can see on the screen, is like choose a small book. You don't necessarily have to choose a book that is bulky with 700 to 1,000 pages. You won't ever be able to finish that book if this is your first book. Okay, you only progress step by step. Take baby steps, right? Read a book that contains short stories. Okay, so short stories that are filled with adventure, fun, mystery, suspense. Like all these stories will be able to hold your interest and your attention, and you won't have to be attentive for a longer period of time because they're short stories. So you can do it by step, right? So what will happen that your interest will gradually build. So the point is that you must learn to crawl before you start to run. Next that we talked about is step second, that is switch off your phone, your TV, your laptop, and your other phone. Why I'm talking about the other phone? Because let's face it, it's a fact that there are more phones in the homes than there are family members. So everybody is having at least two phones these days. I don't know why. Somebody is carrying an iOS, and whoever has an iPhone also has an Android phone. So please switch them off. And when you switch off your phone, 90% of the job is done. Okay, because there are no distractions. You switch off the phone, don't even keep it at your proximity, just put it somewhere in other room and then start reading. Just give it a 30 minutes or 20 or 15 minutes, but just do it, and then it will happen naturally. So no distractions at all. Step 3 we have is that read at least 2 pages before going to the bed. Right, just read, because not only for the sake of reading, it is also beneficial for your health. You don't know how harmful it is. The blue lights that are coming out of your screen, they harm your skin, they harm your eyes, they even interfere with your sleeping patterns. So please stay away from the blue light, especially when you're about to sleep. Read a book. If you don't understand otherwise, but that is different thing. But the thing is this, that you will be able to sleep better at least, right? And if you have developed interest, you won't be able to sleep at all. So no problem, no sleeping, no problem, just good book. So what I'm saying is that take your sweet time when you pick up the book. Take your sweet time, feel the book, feel its elevated title, and there is no need to hurry at all. You have to read at your own speed. It's not going to be like they're going to be test out of it. Just read at your own convenience. Step 4 is very important one. Nobody talks about it, but it's very underrated. That is go to a bookstore. If you want to buy a book of your liking, if you want to buy a book that you will love, then you must go to bookstore. Please do not shop for books online. It's no fun at all. Like if you're actually among there in the books, you will touch them, you will feel, and then you will be like, okay, this book, I like this book. This book also seems to like me. Maybe we will become good friends. Who knows? So that is the process. That is the advantage of going to a bookstore. Do you agree with me so far? The steps?
Yes, ma'am. I do.
Thank you so much, Deepak. Is there any other step that you would like to add?
Ma'am, we can include a library.
Yeah, library. I will come back to that. Don't worry. So, okay, the step 5 that we are talking about is reading corner. And it is very vital to developing this habit. But how can you build your reading corner? It's very simple. Create your own reading space, like whatever corner of your home that you love the most. right? And just to go there, place whatever you want to, whatever you want to sit on, like a table or chair, and what do you want to put on that table. Like if you are fond of plants, place a small plant there. Like get yourself a pretty bookmark. Is there anyone who has any fetish for bookmarks?
I just use pretty much anything from a diary milk wrapper to a very
Okay.
fancy bookmark for my books.
Oh, yeah. I used to use, the cloth tags. Remember the cloth tags I used?
Okay, that's
on
I actually have this book, but I the tag got torn off, but this have
Okay.
yeah, it's there. I
Okay.
was
Or
reading this book.
otherwise, I used to just cut wedding cards because
Yeah,
they had this solid material, and I'd use them as
yeah. I
bookmarks.
just my mom bought it back yesterday, and I just cut took the tag. It was on the floor, literally on the floor. I just took it, put it on the book. She was calling me or taking something out in the kitchen, and I was like, okay, I need to get the paint. The first thing that came in my hand was it. I was laying on the bare floor, lying on my
I
back.
used to use expired credit cards or debit cards of my dad as they make
Yeah,
pretty fancy bookmarks. So I was saying that
I agree with
place a plant or pillows or get yourself a coffee or tea, whatever you want to, put your feet up and get yourself a book and start reading, right? And the last step that I'm going to talk about is like it's a bit subject from a subjective point of view, because a person who is an avid reader doesn't really care about his surroundings or weather. But for a person who wants to develop this habit, I think the best time to develop this habit is during winters, really, because it's much more pleasant to read in a warm and cozy quilt with a coffee or tea in your hand than rather in a scorching 50 degree temperature. Because if you're just feeling all hot and sweating, you really don't have reading at your mind in your mind, right? It's like okay, I don't want to touch anything, don't touch me. We would not want to touch our skin. So that's why I'm saying that if you want to develop this habit, just start reading during pleasant or winter season. So, any other point that you guys might want to add up into this and help readers?
and as you said, it's not my reading one, but here I store the books. I just sit. There's a cozy couch in there. I just sit there and read. As you said, the coffee. I think people tend to spill their coffees over the book. I'm just exposing myself anyway.
Yeah, maybe there's a danger. There's a real danger of that, because if you get
Yeah.
too lost in the book, you would forget what's in your hand, and maybe that can do the damage. Yeah.
Okay, I was reading one of Dan Brown, I think Da Vinci Code. I was like, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
a very suspenseful moment, and I was like, I actually literally spilled my black coffee. It still has that color. And
Oh.
for my own good, it was a library book. If you want
Oh.
fines,
Did you get
it's me.
fined?
Yeah, I got.
Did you get fined?
I just got fined. I think they replaced the book.
Oh,
Nobody wants a coffee smelling book on their hands. Actually, there
alright.
are a lot of clean freaks on that library which I go.
Alright.
They
I guess.
very hygienic.
All right. All right. So I guess Alex wants to say something.
Aaron, please.
That is such a fancy name, Aaron. It's like out of a fancy literature book, or some Netflix series.
Yes.
Aaron,
Right.
can you hear me?
I think it's also by mistake.
I think he raised it twice, so I thought he actually wants to say something, Aaron. All right, Aaron, if you want to say something, feel free to unmute yourself and let me know. So the next point that we are going to talk about is importance of library. As you all were saying that it's quite pivotal, to the reading process. Now it would be gross injustice or sheer ignorance if I don't talk about the importance of library, the role the libraries play in developing this habit. So, a study has shown, and it's quite common sense, that children who use library more, are better readers, are better persons. And what role libraries play? How can they develop this habit? A library isn't simply made up of books or wall or fans or anything. There has to be more to it. what do we like? The basic infrastructure, like if the chairs and the tables are broken, the books are torn and all over, just in a chaos, then who would like to read? It's like, oh, I don't want to go there. So the thing is that if the library has comfortable chairs, tables, lights, ventilation, and proper decorum is maintained, proper silence is maintained, only then students will use it, right? So school libraries lay foundation for the habit of reading. So the better the library, the better the reading. The next thing related to library I want to talk about is the role of the librarian. We seldom talk about it, but the librarian actually plays a very vital role. Now let me give you an example. Like the role of librarian is criminally underrated. We really don't give the librarian the credit. But the thing is this, that during my first year of bachelor's degree, I was, in college for the first time, freshly out of school, and I have found this new freedom, new liberation, where no teacher gives a damn where you go, whether you attend the class or whether you bunk it or not. So I had the opportunity to read more books, and I did read more books by bunking the classes. Right? But I still end up being a teacher because I was not doing anything else. I was reading, right? So what happened? How the role of the librarian is important, that my friend and I went to the library, the new library, college library, for the first time. And we were pretty excited. Like, there is a huge library, much bigger than in school. So what happened that when we got there, the librarian shouted and yelled at us because we had disturbed her, and I was stubborn. I was not to be dismayed or anything like discouraged by her. But my friend, she was pretty new to the habit of reading, and she got all scared and she never came back to read books. She was like, I don't want to face her. She's so rude. She's so mean. So the point I'm trying to make is that are rude, and if a librarian is not a good librarian, then he or she can discourage really budding readers. But if a librarian is gentle, soft-spoken, and has respect for books, then he or she can germinate this beautiful habit of reading in any person. So you get me? So librarian also plays a very important role. So I am reminded of another beautiful quotation by George R. Martin. Have you all heard about his book, The Game of Thrones? You must have heard about the series.
I never saw series. Not a fan of fantasy, but I have heard about the book.
The book, obviously, the series is based on the book. Yes, Song of Ice and Fire. Pranav, as we have seen.
Got a fan here.
Yes. So that's so nice. So George R. Martin, he says a line that a mind needs a book as a sword needs a whetstone. A mind needs a book as a sword needs a whetstone. Now, what is a whetstone? Whetstone is a stone on which swords are sharpened, all the instruments on which we sharpen our knives. So, whetstone is a instrument or a stone on which we sharpen swords. So, our mind, in order to sharpen our mind, what do we need? Books. So a mind should be challenged for it to become more and more efficient. And the best way, and what is a better way to keep it alert and healthy than to read? You got me? Is there any other way to keep your mind, math students would say doing equations, solving problems. Science students would say that by reading Albert Einstein's theories and all that. But I think reading beats it all, doesn't it? Who agrees with me?
Yes.
Okay, anybody else wants to say something?
We have one interesting comment here.
Oh yeah, there is Renz Kumar, I guess. What? Please could you unmute yourself? That was something.
I have never agreed 10% anything. I have it's so true. That thing I literally said before. Teachers are always behind syllabus.
Yeah, so okay, Renz, no problem. We got your comment, and you are absolutely right. No problem. Okay, so as we were talking about the problem, the importance of library and the librarians, there is another thing that is criminally underrated, and that is the role of newspapers, the role newspapers play. It's not mandatory that if we have to start reading this habit, then we have to start with books. No, not at all. I started it by reading newspapers. Ever since my childhood, I had been, we had subscribed to Hindustan Times, right? So my father would read it, and I would try to copy him, and I would read, I would underline all the words, and then if when I am finished reading the newspaper, I would just check, pick up the dictionary and check one by one word, and then I just expand my vocabulary. So what happens is the newspapers can play an important role in developing this reading habit, and it plays an immense role. You can start by reading about your favorite movie stars, or you can start by the movie reviews, and later on you progress to columns or the jokes, or to finally the heavy write-ups that matter, that are written about the matters concerning our country or the world. And not to mention that they give us such a important piece of information. Just please excuse me for a second. I have to put my laptop on charge. Its battery is running low. Just please wait. Excuse me. Anyone else wants to say something meanwhile? Yes, Vaiduria, please.
Ma'am, I just want to share a funny experience about reading newspapers.
Yeah, sure, please.
Well, I'm just curious, ma'am, has it ever happened to you that you're buying something from the store and it's wrapped in newspaper, and you just stand in the middle of the way and read the newspaper, it's wrapped down?
Absolutely. Like you are intrigued. Like the newspaper, the headline is folded from there, and you especially unfold it just to find out what's the whole thing is about. Am I right, Vaiduria? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else wants to say something? Fatima, I've been saying your name for quite a while. Would you like to add something? Fatima? Okay, anyone else there? I think she is having some problem. So, okay, now we have talked about, the importance of reading and all that. But let's talk about the side effects of reading. Are there any side effects of reading? Can anyone else list them out? Like, what are the side effects of reading?
Ma'am, like I got into photography. This is an example of a type of guess for me. Like,
okay.
So when I initially got into this, photographing, let's say, flowers and stuff, butterflies and all, that was my start with photography. And now, as time passed and I kept getting more and more into this hobby, like I began to see potential for photographs everywhere. Like even if I'm taking a trip, going to school, I'm like, oh, that is a good shot. I wish I had my phone to take that shot. I'm like that.
You got bitten by shutterbug.
Yeah, you can say that, that's a really beautiful sight, that sun between the trees and the stream, sunlight is coming in. That's beautiful. But I don't have my camera, and that's kind of my position. And
yeah,
what I can say from that is, like, even if that habit is reading, let's say, if I develop that habit, then almost the same thing will happen there. I would want to read everything that I say, like, what is that over there? What does that say? I want to read that, and then I want to complete reading that. Like, that might be a great after effects of this. It might save lives in the long run.
Yeah, we hear you. We totally hear you. So, Ren say, I believe reading too much can kill our brain's productivity, especially when there is no meaning. I got there. When there are no new meanings are created. I don't think so that you ever come across a phrase that doesn't, fire up your imagination. The thing is this, that you have to find meanings yourself. You have to read between your lines. So the side effects that we are talking about are actually no side effects. The thing is this, there may be, like you may start preferring books to people. Like you are going to be like, okay, I don't want to
Yeah.
talk to you or anything like that. I'd rather read my book, sit in silence or complete solitude.
That's me.
Just leave me alone.
Yeah. That's me during
Yeah.
when I have to go for a family function.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Then that's what my next point was. Yeah, look, you'd be lost reading in your books. You would just wouldn't like to go to weddings or parties. You would be just happy to send your family away. You go, let me read a book in silence, in privacy, something like that.
Yeah.
So,
And I get quite
as I
annoyed
was-
when someone calls me in between the reading, unless it's an
Yeah.
emergency. That was the
Absolutely.
time I was having my finals on 8th stand. I literally put up an WhatsApp status, no, do not disturb me. I have to read, I have to pass this class. No,
Maybe you should have, you should have put a placard around your neck. Reading a
As
book
if I
not
went out of the
available.
house, okay. I was sitting in my house like in helmet with my hair like in a messy bun, and I looked quite ridiculous. And I was my mom literally got me a helmet.
Okay. So, as I was saying, as Niranjana said, that the one other thing that we are going to talk about is that
You
you
get
would
so
be,
lost in
you
that
know,
book's world.
yeah, you would lose touch with your reality. You'd be lost in a new era, in somebody else's life, and you will be oblivious to what's going on around you. You won't like your reality anymore. And
Yeah,
even if
like
you come back to it, you would rush to the books as soon as you get any chance.
I'm selling or using example of a taboo subject. Don't mind me. Like the caste system, especially some of the elder generation still have a touch of caste in their.
Absolutely.
First, initially I was like, okay, it's a generation, but now I have read deeper into that subject, into that particular thing. I get really annoyed when somebody says, "Oh, he is from that caste, that's why he's behaving like that." Like in a
I
particular
can't
way.
believe, but it is my biggest pet peeve near to me. But they like talk about other teachers' caste. Okay, this caste. Okay, stereotyping them on the basis of caste.
It annoys me the most that it doesn't mean a certain person is belonging to a particular community doesn't make him interact sadly. Is in Kerala we have lots of reforms and all, but still the caste is still exists. In schools actually
it's,
there's
it's it's a pan India problem.
pan India, yes. In Kerala, actually, I have a very bad experience. One of my teachers, like indirectly, because of my caste, she was like, "No, you don't have to do that." She always privileged the upper class, which when the Keralite
So-called upper class.
Savarnas, the Kshatriyas and all. I'm not offending anyone. I'm sorry if I did. A bit of a history stuff, it's just straightforward.
No problem. Reading is also cathartic, and so is sharing.
But
So
so another thing that my teachers are annoyed of, they don't like me because I talk too much straightforward. If some students be like, okay, teacher, I don't like it, I don't prefer it. I'll be like, okay, I don't like it, so I'm not going to do that. That's a little stand.
yeah, you have your own right to voice your opinion. I have my own. That is different thing. Yeah, Rens Kumar, often they try to impart the ideology to coming generation, and it's just sick. Yes, Rens, it is. But the thing is this, that future looks quite bright with, you are the new generation, and if you can change it, then who else is there? The older generation will pass on soon. Hopefully, the one that believes in caste system. So don't worry. I think I'm looking at you people, and it seems like it's in safe hands. The future is in safe hands.
Yes. Hopefully.
Yeah. So let's talk about the benefits. And Deepak will like it that I'm gonna quote Albert Einstein, who said something very interesting about fairy tales. He said that if you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. And he further said that if you want them to be more intelligent, then do what? Then read them more fairy tales. So, So, what is this? That it is a scientifically proven fact that reading has an immensely positive and happy impact on our bodies. Why? Because when we read, it releases a hormone called dopamine. Deepak, do you know about that hormone?
Dopamine, heard of that lots of times on the internet and on the textbooks as well.
Okay, so come on, help me out. Tell me what is dopamine? Am I pronouncing it correctly? Or what else induces this hormone?
As far as my knowledge goes, I guess it's not something to do with stuff you're doing the stuff you really like. Like, for example,
Yeah.
you're playing a game you like you're interacting with friends, and you're happy. That means you're releasing dopamine. I guess that is kind
Yeah.
of what it is. But I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
a hormone which
a
is
hormone,
driven,
neurotransmitter.
yeah, which drives us to seek and repeat pleasurable activities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, mostly that is why drug addicts become drug addicts, because the drugs have that kind of impact on our life and our body wants more of it,
Yeah,
right?
and
So you
not
can
only,
take it positively and negatively.
not only
Yeah,
that,
Deepak.
but we shouldn't have to talk about much about addiction because it's means of escaping from reading.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Escapism. Well done, well done. So the next thing that the next benefit is that reading helps to think us independently. We become independent thinker. We are not like, we don't have to go to seek advice from everyone. Like, tell me, please help me out, get me out of this. What should I do? So what happens is that when you are reading a book, you step out of your own life, right? And you are able to think objectively. You experience another person's happiness, misery, woes, but as your own. You feel like you are the protagonist of the book, right? And you are as if it were happening to you, but you are experience all those emotions from a safe distance. That is why. So you are like that. If it happens in my life, I would be able to do this. Okay, so I would be able to take better decision. Next thing is that more reading leads to more writing, and it is also proven that the person who reads more performs better in competitive exams, right? And next point that we have is patience. Reading makes you a patient person. Obviously, if you have patience to go through big fat bulky books, a novel, and you have the patience to continue with that story, you are able to remember it, and obviously you have the patience to finish it, then obviously you can deal with anything, right? Your sitting stamina improves, but there is a side effect to it. Please don't sit for too long, otherwise you will end up being a patient in hospital. So don't sit for too long. Just kidding. All right. The next point we have is that the more you read, the more you write. Obviously, we have discussed it before. Reading leads to writing. The more you read, the more you write. The better you read, the better you will write. If you're reading, the thing is this, that we acquire the reading style of the writer that we are reading. So your reading and your vocabulary will be more refined. Got it? Are you getting me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So let me tell you something. Reading is for active persons. How is it for active person? Let me give you all a sentence. So please participate in all this. Okay. So imagine I am reading you a sentence, and the sentence is, a pretty girl is walking down the street. Okay. It's a simple sentence. A pretty girl is walking down the street. Now raise your hand if you not only heard this sentence, but you also imagined it in your minds, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. There is a picture. There is a picture before your mind, and you all imagined a girl. But here is an interesting thing. The thing is this, that none of you imagined her in the same way. For each of you, the definition of pretty is different. For some, she must be having long hair. For some, she must be having a boy cut. For some, she is wearing a sari. For some, she is wearing a jean or top or a western dress or a gown, right? Even the street that she is walking down, you imagined it in a different way. It might be crowded, right? It might be a cobbled, beautiful European street. It might have flowers on its sidewalks or trees, So the thing is this, just one line fired up your imagination, didn't it? Just one line, just one line put all the corners of the brain into work, right? So reading is for active persons. You must have come across a person, who are, you are
Um,
really reading passionate.
so
Yes.
I'm very sorry to intervene. It's actually 9:15. We have the time limit is 9:30, so I think it's time to
Oh,
wind up.
okay,
So
okay. I
I'm
got
sorry.
so much lost. No problem. I was on the other hand afraid that I might fall short of the
No, it's
stuff.
actually very good.
All right. I'll try to wind up ASAP. So yeah, I was saying that we are reading a book. You must have come across a person who is saying us that we are always, drowned in our reading. So what happens is that they ask us, okay, what are you reading about? What is it all about? So our response is naturally, okay, well, let me finish it. You should find it. You should find yourself because it's so interesting. But the person is like, no, I'll just tell me the story. It's so offensive thing to say to a book lover. Or worse, you know what they say? Oh, there is a movie or series coming out on it. I'll watch that. Like, that is so offensive. Never ever say that to us, please. If you don't want to read a book, just let us. Okay. So the next thing that I want to talk about is another one of the magical benefits of reading. It's teleportation. Have you ever heard about teleportation?
No,
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
No, okay.
Teleportation.
Yes,
Pardon?
no, okay. It's a mixed response. All right. Yes, science fiction, Pranav. Yes, I got him excited there. So, what is teleportation? Okay, let me explain that. Teleportation is like a kind of a superpower in which you can go to one place from one place to another one. There is a movie called X-Men.
Yeah,
They
I watched it.
they do telepathy. What is telepathy? Like you want to communicate your ideas from your mind to another person's mind. That is telepathy. So teleportation is related to that. Like you move from one place to another. So books are like that. They take us to that place without actually leaving our place. If knowledge is power, then reading is superpower. Not all heroes wear capes, some carry books and some read them. Okay? So reading, imagine you can choose your superpower. It can be flying, invisibility, or being able to read. Which one would you choose? Like, flying is useless without other powers. Invisibility is okay, fun for a little while. But reading, imagine if you can tap into the wisdom of all the persons on the earth, and if you are the only person who can read, then you can control the world, right? So these were the benefits I was talking about. Now here is something I want to talk about. The last book that I read, and I want to share it with you, and I think you all must read it. And this is the book. Can you see it?
The Book Thief. I
Can
think,
you see it?
ma'am, it's who's the author?
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty visible. Mark? Sorry, Mark what?
The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Suzak.
The Book Thief
Right, right.
by Marcus Zusak. He's an Australian Jew. Why did I mention his religion? Because it's very important. Why is important? Now, look, we have talked about enough, about the impact the books have on us and how it can drastically improve our lives. So now let me give you a true example of the impact of reading on our lives and our physical body through this book. This book is inspired by true events. Have you all heard about World War II and the condition of the Jews in Hitler
Holocaust.
Germany? Yes, well done. Holocaust, concentration. Liesel, the main protagonist of this book is Liesel. She's just 12 years old. All right. So she lives in Nazi Germany, and she has lost her entire family thanks to Hitler. Okay. And now she is living with complete strangers who are her new parents. But she still survives through this horrific time when unspeakable atrocities are committed. How does she survive? Can anyone guess? What are we talking about? What is the topic?
By reading.
Reading. She survives through World War atrocities that are committed all around herself through reading. How does she read? So let me tell you that she loves to carry books even when she cannot read. She only learns to read to be able to read books. And this love for reading protects her from all the hatred that is spread around her by Hitler. So what happens that I'm not going to reveal the story to you at all, but I'm just gonna taking the excerpts out of it. So what happens is that on one occasion, the drops are bombing, the planes are dropping the bombs, and Liesel and all the neighbors are huddled up in a basement. All right, they are all scared for their lives. What happens is that Liesel starts reading a book. She starts reading a book, and all the people become calm and they pay attention to her, and they even forget about bombs, and they just get engrossed by the book that Liesel is reading. Even Liesel has a neighbor who has lost her both sons in World War II. So she is always frustrated because such a tragedy has happened. So even Liesel is able to soothe her through reading. So, and let me tell you one thing, that we all know the condition of the Jews during that era. All right, so they were the main target. So what happens is that Liesel finds a Jew who is on his deathbed. But what happens is that she reads to him every night, and that man actually gets his life back. So what I'm trying to say is that reading has even physical healing properties that can affect our body. All right. So another book. Now I'm trying to wind up. What's the time we have? Okay, we have 10 minutes. Another book I want to suggest to all of you is this. Can you all read the title?
Yes, ma'am.
Followed the father. His
It's
father. into
the boy who followed his father into Auschwitz. Its pronunciation is Auschwitz. Okay. So what is Auschwitz? It's also,
The
Concentration camp.
yes, it was the deadliest concentration camp. You guys are geniuses. It's so nice to talk to you.
Actually, on your curriculum.
Yeah, and this one was liberated by the United States, or it was the Allies.
Absolutely right.
The other one,
Well,
Like
Well-
the 90 now from the 1900s to the 1990s is mainly I research around this area in this time period, and I have to go through all of this. Holocaust.
yeah,
concentration.
it's
pretty much
quite heart wrenching, isn't it?
and it cost me a lot of trauma. I have to go through the accounts.
You are absolutely right. I used to have nightmares. Like I'm living in that era. I don't even know a single person from Germany or who has been through this pain,
And
but
then the
I can
first
feel
thing
their pain.
I went down to learn German language.
Really? You can speak German?
No, not speaking, but I can read it quite a
Oh,
bit.
wow, that is
But I
awesome.
stopped
Brilliant.
due to this, and also due to my
Okay.
academic pressure. I stopped.
All
with-
right.
I think I'm going to begin again, start again in the vacations. Summer vacations are there, no? So I'm
That
just
is
going to start it again.
amazing.
Hope I don't get any traumatic experiences.
Don't worry, that era
I
has
dropped
been
the
80
topic.
years.
I dropped the topic of concentration camps, and now
Okay.
I'm going around the Kerala reforms and this
All
was
right.
the last book
All right.
I read. It's a Malayalam one. It's called Kerala
Okay.
Sri Namboothana Charitram. Means
Okay.
the feminist reforms of Kerala.
The Spanish reforms?
No, the feminist. It's actually there are a lot
feminist.
of-
Got it, got it.
Kerala, but it's written through a feminine perspective.
Yeah,
It actually
got it.
concentrates
Okay.
on the ladies who were in that particular country.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Okay. So I was talking about this book, The Boy Who Followed His Father into Auschwitz. So this is obviously a heart-wrenching story, but still the father and son, the entire the rest of the family is obviously killed by Hitler, but the father and son survive through this ordeal, the unspeakable ordeal, from the very beginning to the very last moment, and they actually, live their life well into the 80s. So how do they survive? The father survives because he is in the habit of diary keeping. He keeps the daily record secretly of what goes on those concentration camps. How and what does that he have to do with reading? Because he could read, he could write, right? So because he could write, he could let out all his pain onto the paper. So you got me? What I'm the point that I'm trying to make. So another book that I want to talk about is Harry Potter. We all have heard about Harry Potter, haven't we? We grew up. We grew up reading it, watching it, hearing about it.
I
right?
never read it. I never watched the series.
Okay, but you have watched.
I read it.
Really? Niranjana?
Yes. I'm
No,
a 21st
you are,
century
you are
creature
missing a
who had
big...
never read or seen any Harry Potter.
Okay,
Trust
but you
me,
are missing
I'm not
big
read.
time. You must watch it.
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
At
So
some
the
point,
point
yes.
that I'm trying to make about Harry Potter is that though Harry is like the entire story revolves around Harry Potter, right? But he was often outsmarted by one of his friends. Who was it? Can anyone
There's
answer
one
me?
character played by Emma Watson. Is that the girl?
Yes, Hermione.
Come on.
Hermione, yes. She
Yeah.
is smart, she is witty, and obviously she is a bookworm. She knew all the magic spells, and she even,
Yeah.
taught Harry some of the magic spells. Who was
One
the
of my
main
friends
character?
was addicted to this particular character, Hermione. Whatever her name is. I'm hoping that's
Hermione.
not wrong. And she was literally addicted, and she was like holding a book everywhere she could, like Hermione. I was like, bro, you alright? What happened to you? She was neither a bookworm. She just watched the series and literally was like, yeah.
Yeah, so even if you just, you are missing a big time, Niranjana, you should at least watch it. So
I'll
to
just
wind
watch
things up, now I guess we have only 3 minutes left.
3 minutes more. And we have a
All
lot
right.
of gratitude too. And for the feedback, I think we can get the
Yeah, okay,
feedback.
no problem. Okay, so the point that I'm trying to make that I hope you get is that values literacy, that is, these days is often ignored and underappreciated. Frequently students choose that path of least resistance. And since reading a book requires a tangible thought process, it's not simple, right? It requires a tangible thought process, and literature is neither seen as a luxury or a resistance, but as a tedious punishment, or even worse, a core. It's like a chore. So the thing is this, that we have become oblivious to things around us, but we must open our eyes, and books are the best way to open our eyes. So if you want to open your eyes to the world, please open a book first. Thank you so much. It was such an immense pleasure, such a cathartic and such a beautiful experience to interact with all of you. I hope I was able to persuade at least one of you to read a book tonight, and I
Yes,
hope
ma'am.
I just get one. Okay, so just a second, I got these books only yesterday. So I'm planning to read Ikagai. It's a Japanese concept of
Yeah, that's
life,
the
I
book
guess.
that I was added to my cart on Amazon.
Pranav, is it a good one?
Ma'am, it's a must read.
Okay, nice. Okay, and then I got, as I said, Aesop's Fables. It's one of the classics. Let's see, maybe it's a bit for children. If any of you wants any book, feel free to contact me. I'll send it over to you.
Thank you. Maybe I will contact you. It's very random,
Alright.
of course. Ma'am, your session is over?
Yeah, my session is over.
Yeah, I think we can go more to the feedbacks. Please make it quick, as we have already
Please
almost.
keep it honest, keep it blunt. I just don't want any sugar-coated words. Just
Yeah,
help.
please.
Let's help. Let's help to improve each other.
Please. Deepak, I think you can have a few words. Please, your star, please.
Okay, Naraja, thank you. And ma'am, I am Deepak Kaur, studying at the 10th standard at Government Higher Secondary School, Devanur, situated in the Kollam district of Kerala. And I very much enjoyed this session on the power of reading it today. It was such a wonderful class. I mean, this is coming from straight from my heart, because you handled this session very fantastically.
Thank you so much, Deepak. Those words mean world to me.
Yes, ma'am, because especially for one reason, like tomorrow there's lots of revisions coming up tomorrow. There are some things for biology, then there's Sanskrit, then there's SS, and there's maths, and there's lots of stuff that's coming up. And I'm thinking about all this, and I'm getting stressed up, and thinking of what can I do? What can I do now? And remembering stuff like even like a few minutes ago, did I remember the one about social studies? And I was like, now what? Just done. And yes, but the stress was quite moved away for some time by your way of handling this class. This is a honest thing coming from deep inside my heart, to say politically. I don't know what
Thank
is
you
it. What's
so
gonna
much. That
happen.
is actually one of my main aims, to make, like as a student, I hated that atmosphere where it was all just scary, like you had to be on your toes all the time. You can't do learning if you're not enjoying. You have to be
Yeah.
completely relaxed. The teacher should be approachable. The teacher should be friendly, kind. And that's the kind of teacher I needed. So I became one because I never got that one.
Yeah,
So
man.
I'm glad that I was a bit successful.
You're welcome, ma'am. I really like the way you handled the session. That's why I'm saying it over and over again. And it was very useful. And I would like to also put this in there, like I have been pretty enthralled by this concept of letting the students have the fun and allowing them to learn with that. So we're working on some
Yeah.
concepts for a future education system.
Absolutely.
And like I presented in some programs, but there wasn't much success to it. Like,
Deepak,
I don't
you
also
come across as a kind of a guy from whom I can learn a lot. You sound so impressive. I would have loved to put a face to a voice, but I can't see your face. But I think you can teach me a lot too.
yes, ma'am. Would you like me to turn on my camera? It's
Yeah, obviously, I would love that.
here I am. Like
Yeah, there we go. Okay, why are you hidden? You have such a cute smile.
yeah, well, that's gonna be because I was really stressed out by tomorrow's revision set. I was quite reading it quite often. What is that? What's this? Reading it quite often, so I just kept it off.
Okay, but it's so nice to see you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your words. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a really wonderful class. I really, really enjoyed it.
Okay, Niranjana, do we have anyone else?
Come on. So just Miss Kaur, and of course, if I may say, what's the thing behind your name, Candy Kaur? It's a candy.
Oh my gosh, it's still
I
there.
actually find it pretty furious from the start of
That
this.
is
I was
so
waiting to ask.
embarrassing.
Like I never seen like candy. What? I was like, what? Her
Oh,
name is
actually,
what's it?
that's my nickname. That is my nickname.
That's
Yeah, my parents call me by that name, and yeah, it's literally and figuratively sweet.
Maybe if you have some
Yeah, and Kaur is something
friends outside
that
India, they just stick on to it because I have some. They stick on to my. They created a name and they just stick on to it. That's
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So,
Thanks,
do we have
ma'am.
anyone else? Oh,
Thank
Dijit
you,
man,
ma'am.
thank you so much. Thank
I
you so
enjoyed
much.
your lecture.
Oh, thank you
I
so much.
enjoyed
Thank you
your
so much for
lecture.
sticking up. Thank you for being here.
It's very interesting.
Oh, thank you so much.
was very
Thank you so much for
interesting, ma'am.
listening.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah. Anyway,
And nice
So, Niranjana, should we wind up?
ma'am, actually, there's a vote of gratitude. Why do you, darling, you there?
Yes.
Yeah, please, please.
And ma'am, good to see you.
Same here.
Anchor, where is the anchor? Let her do her work.
Okay, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for leading this class for us. Now it's time for vote of thanks. For that, I would like to invite Vaiduria from GSSS Puepalli to deliver the vote of thanks.
Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Good evening to all. I'm Vaiduria Harlal from GSSS Puepalli. It's a matter of pride for me that I'm having a chance to thank everyone present here. It's the 89th session of Lab by English Graduates Association Power of Reading. First of all, I'd like to thank the whole team of EGA for taking such an initiative. And I'd like to take this golden opportunity to thank our inaugurator, Amandeep Kaur ma'am. She's working as an English mistress at GSSS Cemetery Road, Ludhiana. Thank you, ma'am, for making time for us in a busy schedule. Now I express my heartfelt thanks to our resource person, Kirandeep ma'am. She's an English teacher at Government Senior Secondary School, Sihora. Well, it was a really valuable and informative session, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your invaluable information with us. Next, I'd like to express my gratitude to Niranjana Hari from Shantini School, Trivandrum, for the presidential address. Now I'd like to express my special thanks to today's anchor, Sharanya from GSSS Chadamangalam. Thank you for your beautiful anchoring. Next, I'd like to express my gratitude to Anushree from GSSS Banjaramoda, who sang the prayer for us. Thank you, Anushree. Let me express my special thanks to Anashwara from GSSS Bharadanu, who delivered the welcome speech. Thank you, Anashwara. And last but not the least, I express my sincere gratitude to all who made the session a grand success. Thank you. Good night.
Ma'am,
Thank you, Vaidurya.
Sharanya, carry on.
Thank you, Vaidurya. Every beginning has an ending. Now it's time to end this session. It was wonderful and informative. I hope all of you enjoyed this session. Thank you all for making this session wonderful. It's me, Sharanya, signing off. Thank you.